Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today, we discuss one of the stars of Basel World 2018. This is the Glashutte Original Vintage Sixties Panorama Date or Panorama Datum, a watch stainless steel and 42 millimeters that is defined by its dial and its almost cartoonishly domed sapphire in the fashion of a mid-century plexiglass. It's a full-size modern watch. As you can see, we're going to zoom out a little bit on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. It's neither oversized nor undersized. It's right-sized. 42 millimeters in diameter, not including the crown. The watch is reasonably slim, not thin, but 11.8 millimeters thick, and you can see how much of that is the sapphire. Any sleeve, including this longer cuff I'm wearing, will slide up and over this watch, so it's dress safe. You can also see that across the wrist, it has a span of 48.5 millimeters, but the curvature of the lugs means that if you're borderline to wear this, it's probably going to work with your wrist because it falls down around your wrist rather than flaring out. The spacing between the lugs is 20 millimeters, so you will have a bevy of aftermarket and OEM options, but give the factory strap a chance because it's a wonderfully chunky and substantial piece. You can see it dark brown calfskin with a sheer side, thick cut, monotone stitch, more calfskin on the underside, and take note of one of the unique traditions of Geo. You can just barely see it from this angle, but there's a slight cutaway at the lip of the lower case that allows that strap to move unencumbered. German engineering at its finest. A simple mid-century inspired pin buckle, but gracefully arced to emulate the lines of the lugs themselves. And the case is fairly simple. The lugs, in the fashion of the 1960s, are visually separate and sculpturally distinct from the case lines. This is not a blended lug watch of the modern era. You can also see that the case is all of high polish and has a few strong character lines, principally formed by the junction between the thin mid-case, the bezel, and the case back. You'll also note that the case back features a sapphire almost as domed as the dial side. But it is the dial side that gets people excited about this watch. Let's get that back in focus, afford ourselves a bit more light, and appreciate all that this degrade manufactured dial has to offer. First, how about those quarter Arabics? I love that 60s font, and you can see that the white on black, what is effectively white on black, offers high contrast. You'll also note that the indices themselves are reductively applied to the dial. That is, they are actually scalloped indentations in the dial that are then polished about their base to create the impression of three-dimensional applique metal indices. Needle style or extended baton style hands with a needle style seconds hand. The dial has an explosive degrade pattern, so a 60-ton press at Geo's Pforzheim Germany dial factory first creates that embossed image, that explosive, one might say radial, almost tense, energetic, vibrant form that spreads from the center outward from the cannon pinion. Now you have this degrade or degrading lacquer. So it starts bright green and metallic and it fades to black, and this is applied by hand. This lacquer or varnish is never exactly the same on any two examples because it is done manually. A signature of many German watch brands today. Let's just quickly roll and make sure we're not in the date change zone, but there is a double-digit date with a stepped aperture for elegance. It's not simply a clumsy cut in the dial, and when you've got a double-digit date, the quickset becomes a complication and a piece of theater at dinner when impressing your friends who don't quite get the watch thing. It is also a loomed dial, so we'll enjoy that in a moment. Now, the crystal, we mentioned it earlier, is dramatically domed. It's a sapphire with all the scratch resistance that entails, but it's designed to look like a plexiglass or thermoplastic from the mid-century, that 60s period that inspires this reference and this range. You can see on the case back there is a giant sapphire that provides the same sort of theater, only now you can see the caliber. Manufactured GUB 3947, automatic 48-hour power reserve, so 40-hour power reserve beating away at 28,800 vibrations per hour, 39 joules, stop seconds, and a quick set date, so it has both, and you can see that there is a distinctive three-quarter style bridge in the form of Saxon pocket watches of yore. You can see that there is a black polished swan's neck fine adjustment mechanism for adjusting beat error primarily. There's a skeletonized mass with a gold rotor outboard, and that's a wonderful thing in an era when many watch brands are now giving us tungsten. I prefer to see gold used. And of course there's that glorious double spiral graining executed by hand on the reduction wheel of the winding system. Black polished screws, skeletonized rotor. It is a good looking movement. All in-house by Geo and 30 meters water resistant. This watch is sensational. How do you achieve more with less? Well, simply remove material from the dial, less indices, remove complications, all but the date, remove excess clutter, all but the hands. Remove not just applique, but actually dig into the dial, create wells. This is a watch that simply explodes off your wrist. Outsized character in wearable proportions. You can see this one and make it yours on the watch box. Glashutte Original Panorama Datum. The panorama date from the 60s collection. See it and make it yours on the watch box.